Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome to WWT Live, Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. We are going to be talking all things ROH, Athena, NXT Deadline, and so much more. Keep it live.
Howdy, folks. This is Willow Nightingale, and you are watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad, and I am not alone. He is coming from all things announcing and such.
Forward. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward.
The professor is in the building. What's good?
What's going on, TK? How are you?
Oh, man, look. I don't know how I am. We'll see.
Oh, no.
We'll see in January. We'll see what happens in January.
Have you decided to actually take Christmas Day off? Like, I'm going to ask you about this.
I'm not taking Christmas Day off. I'm hey Bobby, what's up? I will be editing the first of many produced TKO production produced mini docs. So I'll be starting that process, and then I will be getting together with Kazuza. So I'm not going to be the only one not working on Christmas, but I'll be getting together with Kazuza, and we are going to be doing an outline, a business outline for 2024, which technically I'm behind. That should have been done in November. So FYI, you're seeing a lot of people get fired in like early November, October. That means that they've done the budget for 2024. So we are like super behind because we're doing it on Christmas, and 2024 is literally like 5 days later. Say that me. Anyways, what up, cool gamer? Bobby said you're doing great on a Monday. Like I started my Monday was. I'm hoping that it's gonna end better than how it started. I just started out with a lot of work, but we here. Not alone. He has come back from the streets. Dylan is going to be so mad at me because I was really looking. I thought I put all the videos in the folder, and I can't find Sed's new video to save my life. So I'm sorry, Dylan. But here we are. Said, what's good?
I'm back after a nice week hiatus. I've been a little under the weather. I told the boss lady I needed more sick days, and she said, hell no. She called me a bunch of expletives over the line, and I think she threw in that I was a lazy American. So I had to come back right away.
What up, Bosa? It's Monday when Seti's visiting. That is not true, folks. I don't force people to do any type of work. Seti is engrossed in his was it Cougars? Did you like Cougars? Can't remember what it was. Milk action.
Cougars is crazy.
Oh.
But here we are. But a busy weekend, and we all, unfortunately, so for you guys who were looking forward to that Friday show, I apologize because we all have shoot jobs, which entail being in the entertainment industry, which is a great thing, but it's also not a great thing because we all got called to set on different sets all over the country, which is a good thing.
Yes.
But here we are. What are we talking about first? What are we gonna do?
Well, I love this current environment of pro wrestling because there's always wrestling happening all the time. And Saturday was a very unique day as there were 3 major shows literally happening at the same time. There was AEW Collision, the final Impact show, and I say the final because after this one, we'll be going to TNA in 2024. But we're going to start with NXT Deadline, which happened in Bridgeport, Connecticut over the weekend. There was a lot to talk about from this event. The 2 Iron Survivor challenge matches. The women's one, won by Blair Davenport. The men's one, won by Trick Williams. And what I have to say was one of the most entertaining, heart-stopping, fully engage your emotion kind of matches I've seen in a long, long time. Plus, we had a title change. We've got a new NXT North American champion. Dirty Dom has lost the title, in case you didn't know. He lost the title to the other guy named Lee. That would be Dragon Lee, not to be confused with Wesley, who was supposed to originally get the shot, but his back will not allow him. So he's going to be out for 8 to 12 months. So, yeah. And then there was a random CM Punk sighting. Yeah. It was crazy, guys. It was absolutely nuts. But I loved all things NXT Deadline. Since it is women's wrestling talk, we probably should kick off things with the women's Iron Survivor Challenge match, which, while Blair Davenport won, I have to say, one of the things that I am most impressed by is NXT's ability to continue to build stars. How do you win without winning? The answer is Lash Legend, who came in and did something we've never seen in Iron Survivor history. She scored 2 falls at the same time, pinning 2 women's shoulders to the mat. She was just incredible. Like, what a week it's been for Lash Legend. For me, the MVP of that match, without question. And she's a star, folks. She's a star. And I'm really glad that we're getting to see her ascent right now. What do you guys think of the Iron Survivor Challenge match for the women?
Do you think that it was, or it is being timed? Or like, do you think it's one of those things where they kind of see where Lash Legend is and they're like, it's time? Or do you think that her talent has gotten her to this point? Not to say her talent didn't, but her talent is like, now they're trying to catch up with her talent. Does that make sense?
I have an answer, but said.
No, that's an interesting question. I don't think they're trying to catch up. I think they're just trying to they're trying to showcase it because they have legs with this whole metaphor thing. We know Jakara is injured. So I think they have to have that level of balance to keep this program going with metaphor, because there's so many things they do with that group. By nature, This is why they're paired with Alpha Academy. It just makes sense. So I think they're going to slow burn it a little bit more, but it's great that she can show this display of athleticism that we knew was there. And now it's like you're finally putting it all together.
Yeah, I think it's an issue of timing. Some of the things that we plan especially in wrestling, don't always happen the way we plan it. Let's face it, they actually planned for Lash Legend to be a star in the NXT 2.0 days, okay? Remember, she started with an entire talk show. Like, she was the highlight of NXT 2.0. And then when she got in the ring, it was clear that, okay, things weren't meshing. So I think she's done the work. She has, done all the things that she had to do behind the scenes while getting a lot of exposure on TV with metaphor, learning some things from Noam Dar, being in that particular learning tree. And so it just so happened that the last time we saw Lashley, and mind you, her and Jakara Jackson had been having some tag matches before. They just weren't high profile matches. So the fact that most of us forgot about it, by the time we get to the whole Iron Survivor qualifier, many people still thought, oh, her against Roxanne, oh, that's a slam dunk for Roxanne. Like, they're just giving her a layup. And someone mentioned in the comments that her success is because of metaphor. We probably think that her getting into the Iron Survivor qualifier was because of metaphor. If you watch the match, you realize, oh, she's got something. She's got something significant. And then the whole Otis thing happens. Let me tell you, you just don't time strength. Like, you have to work to that. And I'm not sure that she had that level of strength and technique when she first debuted. Remember, her body slams on women were not as smooth and as comfortable back then. So I think she's, again, had time to work and now she's grown and she's able to showcase that.
I kind of want to push back a little bit on the strength wise. Strength wise, I feel, and of course, may or may not do research on it, probably not. But I feel based off of experience with athletes, right? Like for instance, like my strength is way less than what I used to do in like track and CrossFit days. However, I've always been stronger than the average person. Sure. And I think that's more of a genetic thing where like you kind of hit this is where your kind of 60 point is if you're not really working on it, but your 60 compared to somebody else's 60 is still going to be higher, if that makes sense. Right. So I feel with Lash Legend, like the fact what she did with Otis is one of those things where she's always had the strength. Now it's just putting the proper technique to it. So like, you know, it's like you always had the strength to, for instance, lift 10 grocery bags at the same time. But now you go in the gym, you start doing Olympic lift, and now you can like deadlift 500 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like just kind of looking at her and looking at what she's done thus far, she's always had the strength. It's now putting the technique together, which is what you were talking about. But strength wise, that's a mama and daddy thing for sure. Like that's just beyond amazing.
And I feel like I have to defer to the only body slam professional on this panel too.
This is true.
TK, you know, that story from After Dark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I was like, I was trying like
body
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. The funny part was I was sitting here listening to it and I forgot that I wasn't on camera, but I was like, yeah, you said it. I remember it. I remember. Strong woman. We don't cross TK. She will slam us.
She got the right form and everything.
And then she showed the video last week of her pulling a truck. I was like, okay.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, that was Wednesday. She showed a video of her pulling a car and pulling a truck. I said, okay. No, TK.
What?
Yes.
Wait.
I used to be a ringer for CrossFit. So they used to.
Where was I when this happened?
Oh,
that was Wednesday, man.
Oh, you lucky. Let me find that video. I'm gonna get miles off of that. Don't let me find that video.
It's on my Instagram. But I used to be a ringer for CrossFit gyms. So I used to do a lot of CrossFit competitions, and because of my strength, because I started CrossFit, but because of my strength from track, they saw like, oh shit, she can lift. So I would go to different gyms and be like that fourth girl. So they used to have like co-ed things. There's 2 guys, 2 girls. And I used to be the girl who can lift. So like that was the easy part. The running and all the other stuff, that's a whole nother beast. But you know, it's on my Instagram. I don't be hiding too much from folks.
Hey. Back to the Iron Survivor. I think they got it right. We talk about building stars. I actually had a conversation with a friend a week ago about who would I call up from NXT right now if I could wave a wand and give somebody a call up right now. And I threw a curveball and I said Blair Davenport. I feel like Blair is the most ready and could kind of curate any storyline anytime. I thought she made the most sense for a next challenger for Lyra Valkyria right off top. So I'm glad that she won and they're pushing that forward because she was just the anonymous attacker doing all those things, putting people on the shelf. And now we're finally getting to see that pay off. Just at No Mercy, she had that matchup with Kalani Jordan, which was on the pre-show, but it was a great match. Yeah. So I think this match did a good job of highlighting everyone's strengths. Yes. That's what's beautiful about NXT. Everybody got highlighted in their strengths of the match, and the sky's the limit for Lash. Everything's going well with her. We know they're we're seeing that kind of slow grind with Kalani. Like she's there, but it's not fully matured yet, but we know that she's next up. And like, I think Cora Jade said it in her post deadline interview that she came back to the deepest division in the WWE, which is fact. And it's only growing more and more.
Yeah, I think they're really getting that pipeline. I think they're really, when they do the tryouts and stuff, like they're already getting the athletics, meaning that I can only speak to like the basketball, football, and the track of it all. I don't know how other sports do their training. But as far as like Olympic lifting, that's standard across the board, across those kind of 3 sports. And when you kind of get the basis of those elements and those techniques, it's easy to transfer those over to wrestling, technical wise and strength wise. And now you have to just learn the ring part. So I think now WWE is really able to look like, okay, well, we have athletes now, right? Because, you take it back 10, 15 years, you're having like the Total Divas and stuff like that, which is,
Right.
totally different. Now we have athletes coming from a 4-year college or university. So they already have a certain else. Now they're looking for something else. So I now think the picks that they are picking, there's going to be less of, because remember when they used to do these big signees and they had like a whole bunch of people signed on and then you didn't see half of them. I think now they're really kind of figuring out the formula of what they're looking for. And it's not always going to work, but I think the success rate from the pipeline, from the university to the performance center to NXT is solidifying even more where it wasn't as much.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Jeffrey, watch your mouth. We already know who the breakout star is. Kalani not winning no breakout star. We know who the breakout star is. It's already been ordained and crowned. And
I mean, she did win a whole tournament.
You should know that. You should know that.
Allegedly.
Should have been in the honorary Reina rankings if you ask somebody, but she got snubbed. But I don't do the voting there,
But you do though.
Oh.
But you do the voting. You're part of the voting committee. What?
She met the criteria, but she didn't make the final list.
You're part of the voting committee, and people have no idea what we're talking about. Let me just bring it up because people some folks don't watch WWT live as often as some other folks do. So we have the Reina rankings, which debuts every beginning of the month, and so it's top 10, and we have certain criteria, and so there's 10 through 6, there's 5 and 4, 3 and 2, and number 1. And no, Sed's number 1 draft pick is not in the top 10, but maybe she'll make it next month. We'll see. So there you go.
I feel the conspiracy building, but it's okay. Like the phoenix from the ashes, I will still rise.
Wow. Still I rise. Wow.
Oh, we did it? Okay. What else we got?
Well, we talked about the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. Of course, we have to talk about the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, which was won by Trick Williams. Again, I feel like this match combined all the things we love about sport and entertainment. I mean, we saw, I think, the rise of Josh Briggs in this match. He looked incredible. I mean, it was just like, where has this guy been? Obviously, he's been locked in a tag team, but he's doing some great things. And Dijak always delivers. Tyler Bate looked like he was going to win this thing for a while. Then Braun Breaker came in and speared everybody. And it just felt like for a second, literally I was watching this and about the 20-minute mark, I was thinking to myself, did Trick upset somebody in the back? Are we trying to humble Trick or something? Trick can't get a fall. It was crazy. And I was like, now look, okay, I know Melo didn't win last year. Trick has to at least get one fall. I mean, everybody had 2 or 3 falls. And then Trick gets out of that penalty box. And it was just the stars opened, the sky appeared, the sun was there, all the things. And man, Trick, he came through in the clutch, man. And so it was amazing to see Trick Williams walk out as the winner of the Iron Survivor Challenge because it was amazing. It was amazing. Everybody looked incredible in that match.
I mean, and that kind of goes back to essentially what I was saying with Lash Legend, applying it to Trick. Do you feel because when he first appeared, obviously you knew, I mean, I was at Wale Mania and I saw him. I was just standing next to him. I didn't say nothing to him. And it's if you didn't know he was a wrestler, you knew he was an athlete. You stand next to some people, it's just yeah, you clearly do something. You do sport for a living. And and do you think it's the same thing with him where they kind of gave him time to develop and now time to shine? Because we'll get into what happens next to the person who allegedly attacked him. So, you know, do you think that's what happened with him as well?
Said?
What was the question?
Do you think that's what happened with him as well, as far as Trick's rise to where he is now? Like, do you think that WWE NXT Shawn Michaels gave him the time to grow as a wrestler? Like, he already had the athletic ability and skill. Or
Well, I
do
know
you
he's
think
a former used to play for the Eagles, I think, but I just think he has a lot of advocates backstage. I mean, I think when you see that kind of rejoicing when he's on screen, I think he has a strong support system. People who've been working with him behind the scenes. Like, I literally think that maybe I don't see it, but or know about it. I think Booker actually really works with him on the side, shows him maybe some of his old moves and ordains some of those certain things. But I think with Trick's rise, I think a lot of people knew the mic skills were there, but the in-ring work just had to catch up. Contrary to what we were saying about Lash, I think we saw this on TV with Trick, like the progression over time, that we would see things weren't really adding up. So they kind of paired him back in the background with Melo just to let it build over time. Now this match, I mean, if you were watching this match live and you saw the Twitter comments on, people were getting hot. People were like, he can't get the ball. And you started to see the negative comments about turning it off and things like that. And just like that, Shawn Michaels get a statue in Black History Month, just like that. Another 2 minutes. just because it's like nobody. I didn't expect that to happen. I think my pick going in was Tyler Bate, because I thought Tyler Bate made the most sense to fight Dragunov next if Dragunov was to win. It just makes sense from their UK days. But for Trick to win like that and pull off a complete miracle, and to get the final pin over Braun Breaker, let's not overlook that. Because they had Braun come in off rip and get 3 straight pinfalls like that. Braun is still Braun's still somebody that they know they can hot shot the top of the card anytime. And I'm pretty sure they're clamoring to pull him into the Royal Rumble, into the main roster real soon. But I just think the story they're telling with Trick is going to be huge for what's the name of the weekend pay-per-view for our PLE WrestleMania weekend?
Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver.
Yeah. It's going to be huge for Stand and Deliver. Yeah. Like, I don't know if Trick will have his moment by then, but they're shooting towards something really big with him. Like, winning like that in 4 falls in less than 3 minutes from 0. That's just unheard of. This is only the second year we've had this match. So that's unheard of.
Yeah. They're making very special things happen with this Iron Survivor Challenge, and every year we get such a different wrinkle ever since last year. And to that end, man, I think you're right. We saw Trick's rise. Remember, we really started seeing Trick and Melo heavy, obviously, right before NXT 2.0, and then 2.0, we saw all of those kinds of things. And this was great. This was great. He has been years in the making to this particular moment. He has really grown. I think, going back to, I believe it was No Mercy when, he won the North American Championship. It was exciting, and yet it was quick. It was over. And I think it was just one of those things for us to see what he looks like with a title, to see how people would respond to him winning a championship, so that when he does win for real, it's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm excited for Trick. I think he's earned this. And on one hand, where I didn't want to see him fight for the championship this early, I feel like there's a larger story at play here that's going to play out. That's, again, going to get us, because we know where we're landing at Stand and Deliver. Like, we know we're not landing at Trick winning the championship. It's Trick versus Melo at Stand and Deliver. I think we're all ready. I think we're also all good with how we get there. And I think New Year's Evil is going to help us get there.
Yeah.
Let me throw a screw in that. Do we want that, though? Do we want the old, like, best friends, bitter rivals angle? Like, what if they throw a curveball and Melo does win this tournament and goes on to fight Logan Paul?
Well, and so let's go there, because I think that could be the other chink in the armor that either may or may not get us to Stand and Deliver. So for those who don't know what happened, over the weekend, Shawn Micheals put out an announcement. There is an NXT slot available for the #1 contender to the U.S. Championship tournament put on by Logan Paul. And that slot, as was so exuberantly announced by one Shawn Micheals, is given to Carmelo Hayes, which I think is incredible. So that means Carmelo Hayes will battle Grayson Waller on SmackDown, which I think is going to be nuts, all things considered. And it seems as though there's a real possibility that Carmelo Hayes could certainly advance in this tournament. He could possibly win the tournament and become the number one contender. If not, I actually think this is the start of the potential call-up, which, as we've seen with Dragon Lee and a few others, doesn't necessarily have to wait for a draft or for the night after Mania. So I guess the question now is, do we think that this this moment is potentially leading to a call-up for Carmelo Hayes and could stand in the way of Melo versus Trick at Stand and Deliver?
I think they want to like tug at the heartstrings a little bit, but I don't think they really want to separate them before seeing how it can fully mature on main roster as a duo. Like we know they had the meetings with Bobby and the Prophets. I think they want to kind of preserve that for now. Because I think the way that you get there is that you have Trick do what Melo couldn't. And that like completely fast forwards the jealousy if Trick can beat Dragunov and Melo couldn't do it. I think that's how you get there. But what do you do? Like, I don't know if they want to put Trick over Dragunov. That would be like a very big deal if they did that.
Huge.
It'd be huge. Like, if like Dragunov can't be in NXT anymore if you do that.
Right.
I'm not for the turning on. It's kind of one of those things. It also just depends. It depends on two things. Personally, I'm not for the best friends turning on each other anymore. However, or I would say to spread it out or space it out.
Kevin and Sammy. That's the only time it really works.
Yeah, Kevin and Sam. But the thing is, how many times have they done it? And it's like
great
you
every time, though.
Yeah. But I feel like it also depends on how in real life how much of a friendship they do have, because there are certain wrestlers who they've been pitched these ideas and they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And even in boxing, the Klitschko brothers, right? They refuse to fight each other unless they've changed their mind. But it's
they made a promise to their mother they never would.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where if they're my friend and I and we were both wrestling, I'd be like, yeah, no, we're not. That's not happening. But you know, we'll see. I don't really care to see it, unless they do the story so well where it's just like we are no longer friends. Period.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple of things at work here. One, I do think that the wrestling business over time has proven that people can be amazing friends outside of the ring and bitter rivals in the ring, and it can work. Sure. There are a lot of instances where that's happened. The other thing that's so interesting is they are working this, I think, in a way, much like what you said, TK, to where this is going to be cataclysmic should it happen. Like if they end up having to go at it, like I think it's going to be this combination of, you know, those who have seen how the Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage thing played out. You know, it could be that coupled with the Triple H Shawn Micheals deal. You know, if you remember when Shawn Micheals had come back from injury and was so excited and then got attacked in the parking lot, and they eventually revealed that it was his best friend Triple H, and they had this insane match at SummerSlam. I mean, it could go down one of those ways or some combination of that. It's going to be interesting. I think the only way it needs to happen is if it will ultimately be the thing that puts, you know, the final touches on cementing Trick Williams as the guy in NXT. I think that is kind of the reason why it would ultimately need to happen. You know, we are certainly past the idea of tag teams having to break up and friends having to break up. I think the New Day proved that you don't have to do that. I even think, strangely enough, the Street Profits proved that you don't have to do that as much as they were talking about. They talked about that breakup for like years.
Like 6 months, yeah.
People beg for this to elevate Tez, and then Doc has been out here letting you know, it's like, nah, I'm equal.
Right. You're not going to forget me. So, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes down, but I'm here for it.
I hope we don't get like a callback. I feel like Shawn does a lot of callbacks, and sometimes they work, sometimes they fall kind of flat. I think most recently with Gigi and JC, I don't think either one of them was elevated because of that moment. It was just a big moment. So with this, I hope we get like some weird type of curveball. In my mind, I'm thinking like some Scooby-Doo type stuff where Trick framed his own attack and never got attacked at all. And he just turns all mellow. Something just so out of this world that you can't see it.
A Jesse Smollett type situation.
Yeah,
wow.
Like nothing happened. Nothing happened. I just want to throw some salt in your name. Like it's just.
Yeah, but the thing is, if that were the
how dope sounds. Shawn Michaels watches Black television, by the way, so he knows.
He's been watching Tubi too much. But the thing is, if he were to do that, you wouldn't want him as your champion, though. Just like Smollett, you're just like, yeah, I can't watch you, bro. Like, you really
forgot about it for a while, but then they'd be like, damn, you want to be great that bad? That's what Cena told you to do?
Wow.
Wow.
That is right, Bobby. Wow. Jeffrey saying those parking lots ain't safe back then and now. I agree. But if they do that, I would want it to be, it's kind of like, how you have the so-called friends or whatever. I haven't really experienced this, but it's like they keep doing certain things and you keep forgiving them. And then eventually it's just kind of like, and then you can have WWE play back like all the times from NXT throughout their reign through the main roster. And then where it's just like, oh shit, you were really never my friend. That's where I would be like, okay, cool, I could rock with this. But not, I don't think right now. But right now, what we can definitely guarantee is for y'all to check out some merch.
Hey yo, you. Yeah, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen not knowing what you want to do like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to www.talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
Shout out to Melanie, great actress out in New York. But yeah, what up, Special Little Nobodies? Jeffrey, I don't know what you're talking about. Is it messy if you keep forgiving the friend and then your friend does? Actually, I'm lying. I did have a friend in high school that is just like, bro, I can't do this no more. Like,
you body slammed her?
I know. I've been in quite a few fights in my life, but nah, I didn't body slam her. I was just like, bro, I can't do this no more. Like, you say one thing, but you keep doing the other thing, and it's just like, yeah, time is precious. So I don't know how that's messy, Jeffrey. You have to expand on that. Yes, NXT Anonymous, because whoever running that account, then
we're gonna pay that off. That thing has just been cycling here for like the greater part of the past year.
That person who runs it will create a montage of all the times Mello has like backstabbed Trick. And then it's going to come to a point where it hits this crescendo where it's just like, all right, dog, like clearly I've been your friend and you haven't been my friend. And like, now we're going to have to square off. That's where I see like kind of hit that like ultimate payoff, but I don't think we should do it now, but who am I?
I just want to know who runs the account. Like we're getting to anonymous GM levels of Monday Night Raw with this thing.
Hey, hopefully they're getting paid well. What we got next?
So. Oh man. Well, stepping out of that, we've got to shout out Impact. Impact Wrestling had their final live event under the Impact moniker this weekend. It was Impact Final Resolution, big pay-per-view that took place on Saturday night. Lots of things happened. Honestly, there were no title changes to tell you about, so that's not the news, but there are two big pieces of news. Well, technically, three pieces of news coming out of this. Firstly, we find out about an interesting signing for TNA as Trent Seven, the former tag partner of Tyler Bate, is now signed with Impact. So that's pretty neat. Also, they announced the upcoming appearance for Kazuchika Okada, which Kazuchika Okada is going to be a free agent in January, and he's coming to TNA. He's coming to TNA the night after their pay-per-view, and he's going to be involved in a 6-person tag match as he's teaming with the Motor City Machine Guns against Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards. That's in Vegas on January the 14th. On that same day, on their TNA Snake Eyes event, Will Ospreay, the newly signed guy to AEW, is going to take on Josh Alexander again. So Impact right now is on fire. They are on fire. And on top of that, they announced another big moment. So if you are a follower of TNA, Impact, the names. So Impact, they have a streaming platform called Impact Plus. And on there, you can watch weekly episodes of their television show. You can check out their old library. You can check out some of the ancillary pay-per-views they have, but not what they call their 4 tentpole pay-per-views, which include things like Hard to Kill, Slammiversary, they're super big pay-per-views. Well, interestingly enough, they've announced that they will be going to a new streaming service on January the 5th. It's called TNA Plus. All right, so a couple details. For one, they're going to have 2 particular points where you can sign up on this. Point number 1 is a package that's going to move from the price point of $7.99 a month to this price point of $9.99 a month, and they call it the Special Attraction Membership. That particular tier is going to have the full library of TNA/Impact, and then all of these special programming for pay-per-views other than their 4 tentpole annual events. So that's $9.99 a month or $95.99 a year. The second level to this is what they call their World Championship membership, and that has all of the perks of the special attraction. Plus, it will include for the first time those 4 major pay-per-view events. Now, here's what's interesting. They have not announced that that's available at a monthly price. Instead, it is a yearly price of $219.99 a year. The other thing that's interesting about this is powered by a streaming service called Endeavor Streaming. Now, if that name Endeavor sounds familiar, it's because, it's actually that Endeavor. The same Endeavor that's responsible for buying the WWE and putting us in this TKO space. Yeah, so that same Endeavor now owns the WWE Network, WWE programming, and now this new TNA Plus, which is crazy if you think about it. So major upgrade for TNA. I am interested to see how many of their fans will participate in this new TNA Plus, particularly that World Championship tier, where you can get all 4 pay-per-views locked up in there, which there's a level of convenience to that as opposed to having to order them separately on Fight TV. Will they be willing to pay that $219 a year, $219 a year for that? Don't know. But I do think it's a pretty neat set of tiers that they have to offer this.
I wonder if they no longer are going after TV anymore, because I remember when I first started watching them in this space, it was like the Pop and Spike TV of it all, and they since have been online. So do you think that they've kind of do you think that that's the best bet for them to go to kind of stay online because we're all technically online, or do you think if they're not, for them to start looking at, just because their programming has always been great, but I think with the additions of everybody else and now they're bringing in more eyes, people are starting to see this, do you think they should go back into the TV sphere and try to get that TV deal?
It's interesting. Said, go ahead.
It's interesting. We're in the era we absolutely don't need to have a TV deal. And if they're being pushed forward by Endeavor now, then the branding will probably be better than it's ever been. As far as getting subscriptions, promoting them on TV networks to kind of commercials to kind of get people to subscribe. I think the marketing now will be even greater for their brand. So I don't think they need to by any means.
One of the things that we've said regularly about Impact is not competing to be the number one wrestling promotion. They have found their niche and they figured out what works for them. So what that also means for them is that their overhead is different. It also means that their ability to turn a profit ends up being different. Because think about it. They don't have the pressures of an AEW or a WWE, which means weekly renting out an arena. Right. So the cost of that, the cost for travel for these people in AEW twice a week, in WWE twice a week, not including NXT and not including house shows. So if you think about it, what they could make from this streaming situation could actually prove to be better for them because they only have, 1 or 2 tapings a month tops. They're not having to pay a lot out for travel. And then what they've done with their weekly show is so brilliant because if you don't get access, that weekly show ends up on their streaming platform that same night. So it allows you, if you're connected to it, it allows you to still stay connected with what's happening currently with their company. I don't know that they necessarily need I think they used to feel the pressure of a TV deal in an attempt to compete. But I think in this environment, think about it. They're paying for Kazuchika Okada. They got money somewhere.
Yep.
Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay on the same show.
How much are we paying now for wrestling subscriptions? So we have Peacock. What's that? $9.99 a month?
Depends. It depends. It's $4.99 in some circles. Just depending on, if you have well, I'll take the commercials. Doesn't bother me.
Well,
$4.99.
Well, I mean, you do have a little professor. So $9.99 to $4.99 for Peacock. Then you have ROH, which is $9.99. Then you have AEW, which you can watch on Hulu or other things. So let's just say, we'll may or may not include Hulu. I think the base price is like $69. And then you have AEW with all their pay-per-views, which is what was that again?
AEW's pay-per-views are $50 a pop.
And they have like 6 to 8 pay-per-views.
Well, they're moving to the month. They've moved to monthly since May. They've had a pay-per-view every month since May.
So you have 12 pay-per-views at $50 a pop. Who else are we missing? Then you have
Impact was $7.99 a month for Impact Plus.
Right. And then what we have, AEW, Impact, NWA, those pay-per-views are all on Fight. They're going for about 50.
Yeah, but the NWA has a streaming plan with Fight where you can do, it was something like, I think $50 a year, and you can get all of their pay-per-views and all access to their stuff, which is not bad, but it's the NWA. I shouldn't say it like that, but you know what I mean.
So yes, I get what you're saying, Shadow Ranger. So it's $220 for Impact, right? I'm trying to get just on the yearly. What we're seeing on all of this is
now, and the interesting thing to your point, yearly is it really does depend on which promotion you support. For instance, we could throw in for those who are doing New Japan. If you're doing New Japan World or New Japan Global, that's $9 a month or something like that. And they have certain pay-per-views that they actually charge for on top of that. So it can be expensive. Well, expensive is a relative term. I'm sorry. It's an interesting investment based on which promotions you prefer. So for instance, there are people who don't get down with, Ring of Honor and the $9.99 deal. Some may not have Impact. Some may find the WWE offering to be more bang for their buck. Others may not want to support WWE and obviously put their money in other places. So
it's actually not too bad. So I calculated all the promotions. I threw in an extra $9.99 for whoever else you might want to watch.
That extra $9.99 is for IWTV, which is the independent wrestling streaming platform. So that'll work.
So I threw in a couple of extra dollars, bumped it up to the $9.99 instead of the $4.99, and you're looking at $1,920 per year for all those platforms, including the pay-per-views from AEW, which is $2,000. $2,000, which is, some people's rent for the month, though. So I guess it's an investment. Like I said, here's a tip: if you do watch all those things, go and get yourself a DBA and stream once in a while on whatever, and just write that mug off, because you ain't getting that money back. That's a whole
That's
situation.
an investment.
That is an investment. And the reason why I did the calculation, I was just kind of wondering, would we pay? So you're paying $2,000 a year. Would you, if we can knock that down to like $1,500 and have a platform like a Hulu dedicated to just wrestling, which would kind of almost be like the Fight TV of it all, where you can see all wrestling in one place, and all those wrestling platforms still get their money, because either way you're still charging. It's just more of a consolidated amount per month. Would people do that, or would you rather kind of piecemeal it? Because remember when they cut the cord, but it feels like the cord mysteriously got back, but there's just no cord. It's just all online stuff, because Hulu is pretty much what you used to pay for cable, which is insane. But I digress. What do you guys think? That's like, I don't know. I have the lady pay for my bills. I don't know nothing to that.
I'm not going to reveal how I get my content. I'm not going to reveal my secrets, but just know I grew up in.
That's about to pound the streets.
I grew up in the burn CD LimeWire era, so I know how to.
Oh boy!
I know how to find some media. So.
Oh boy!
Oh, okay.
Wow. I think we're learning ultimately, what fans' preferences are and who are diehard fans and who are not. The beauty of where we are in the pro wrestling space is that there is enough to go around. There's enough wrestling to go around. And if you love wrestling, several of us might remember the times where wrestling only came on once a week, or maybe twice a week. We never thought we live in an era where wrestling brand new wrestling content would literally be on every day of the week. That's where we are. It's amazing. So now is the space where you ultimately ask yourself, okay, what do I want to commit to? How much of a fan really am I? Do I want to watch this? Do I want to watch that? And what your pockets can and can't afford. I think that's what it ultimately boils down to, and where your devotion lies. There are certain things that just aren't that big of a deal, and some people don't. I know I won't throw anybody under the bus, but I know I tried one particular streaming service because I was like, oh, this sounds like a really good deal, and then I think in that time frame that I had it, I realized I don't really watch this product that much, so I ended up saying, I'll save my money and put it elsewhere, because I'm not and I stopped following the product that closely. So I just couldn't, it didn't make any sense for me, but there are other things that I do have that I don't watch as religiously as I need to, but I know when certain events come up, I'm going to be there to watch it. So I think it's going to end up being up to people. And what we've learned is all wrestling fans are built different, which is much better than what the profile was for a wrestling fan several years ago. I think that profile has dramatically changed. And with that has the economics change as well.
But with that, like, say if you had like an intro deal, right? And you were paying however much month, and you're getting all the wrestling promotions, then wouldn't that be better for the so wrestling fan? They now have access to that, because I'm thinking of, for instance, take the AEW pay-per-views, right?
Mhm.
If you're kind of a, casual wrestling fan, you're not paying for that pay-per-view. Like, it's kind of, speaking to, Steady, him figuring out how to get all these stuff, sans the woman across the street from paying for it. It's just kind of like one of those things where you think of, like, boxing, for instance. I always go back to the Mayweather, because that was an era. I managed to watch almost every one of Mayweather's boxing matches, but never paid for a pay-per-view. Whether it was you go to some type of party or you go this, it was kind of an event. But I wasn't there. There was no way at that time, because I was also broke. There was no way at that time that I was gonna sit home and say, "Hey, I'm gonna watch I'm gonna watch this by myself," chilling at home. So in order to bring in new fans, the casual fans, would it almost be better to have it, all of everything in one place?
Well, there's a lot of, speaking of your Mayweather example, like, because I did the same thing. Some friends would host the fight, or some venues would host the fight because they knew they were going to bring in a certain amount of eyes for a lesser ticket, whether it be like $5 entry, $10 entry, whatever it be. Then you're going to eat, buy drinks, whatever. There are a lot of venues or spaces out here that showcase wrestling pay-per-views. I know on this side of town, Dave and Buster's, Big Al's, they will promote and show, just like they show fights, they will show wrestling PLEs, whether it be AEW or WWE, because they know it's going to encourage more fans to come in who won't pay that $50 a month. So they can come here, enjoy the atmosphere, and pay a lesser price just to watch the show. There probably will be more, as wrestling continues to grow in a bigger space and more people see that's not just for the diehard fan, but casual fan as well. More spaces like that will start encouraging that to draw in that audience, because wrestling fans do travel.
And Shadow Wrangler is saying the idea only makes sense if you watch all the promotions. Jeffrey's saying we all have our ref. I definitely agree with that. But then there's maybe I'm just making this up for myself. Like, I rather just pay one. Can I just pay one person? That's
and and to your point, there were two thoughts. I think I forgot one of them, so maybe it'll come back to me. But I love the idea, and I think the idea does work, obviously, for those who love pro wrestling. When I say love pro wrestling, all of us were introduced to a promotion at some time. And so for the people who love pro wrestling at large, there's always interest in, hey, let me learn a new promotion. I'm the type of person, I like to learn the new people before they hit the larger scale or the larger stage, because then you can really kind of see who they authentically are before, they end up getting packaged potentially differently. So I like to do that. So that's one of the reasons I love indies and these other types of things that are happening. I also realize that not everybody is that deep into wrestling. It's like music. Some of us love indie artists, before they get signed and finding out those things. And we were the kinds of people who liked things that some may never have heard of, called liner notes, those kinds of things. But because that's where we learned. But for other people, it's like, yo, that's a cool song. I don't even know who that is, but that's a cool song. That's how some people treat wrestling. And I get it, and so to that end, I do think the space that is able to broker that kind of deal, I think they would do very, very well.
Yeah. You have anything to say, Seti? Okay. What we got next? What's our last story?
Oh gosh, we're at last. Yeah, because what should we do last?
Showing the issue that it would be too expensive. Not everybody wants to watch everything. If you are just an AEW fan, you don't want to pay extra. I mean, I definitely get that, but I'm speaking to two sides of the spectrum. The casual fan who likes wrestling, who kind of like you're referencing as far as music. Like, I have a Spotify account, right? And I have all different types of like stuff that I follow, whether it's like rock or R&B or gospel music or any of that stuff. But I pay for that single account to listen to all types of music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have somebody like me who's like, I couldn't tell you what the lyrics. I mean, I couldn't tell you what is the lyrics of Pound Town, but I like the song. So you know what I'm saying. So, I like the beat. So,
Go listen to those disgusting lyrics and see what the children are listening to these days.
Look. And then if you like, that's a whole nother conversation. But then you have somebody who like is a lover of music. They love all things music and they listen to the lyrics and they go back and listen to everything. They still will benefit of something like that. It's the people in the middle who is like, yo, I just listen to 90s hip hop. I have my music that I burned from whenever, 1992 or whatever, and I am Gucci listening to that. I don't need no Spotify, I don't need no iTunes, all this other stuff. They don't need to spend that money. But I think I'm talking to the two spectrums, and whether I guess it depends on how big those two circles are. So I definitely agree with all your points as far as if you only are a WWE watcher or a Impact watcher or a TNA watcher or a AEW watcher. I think I'm just talking to people who, like, for instance, I just love wrestling. And then if you have somebody, for instance, like a Trend who leaves WWE, goes to Impact, but you already have this one service, you don't need to now add something else onto it. So whether it work or not, probably not. I don't know what the numbers are, but I was just putting a hope out there.
Yeah, and ultimately we can define what it looks like. You know what I mean?
What did he say?
What did he say?
I don't know. What
you gonna say? Number you came up with? It was like $1,099 for like wrestling shows, and like you didn't even include like your fan time services for certain superstars. But that's like for certain people. But we like to be inclusive and make sure every performer is getting their ducats. But just saying. Support pro wrestlers. Where's my thumb? There it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So New Japan has announced a new championship, which I think is so interesting. So Will Ospreay, this story is actually very interesting. Will Ospreay, of course, is signed to AEW, was the IWGP United States champion, but then turned that into the UK championship. And back in November, David Finlay destroyed that title. And so now the chairman there at New Japan has announced that they're going to replace that championship with a new title. It's the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And that match and the match to decide the new champion will happen at Wrestle Kingdom. It's a triple threat match with Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, and David Finlay. It was initially supposed to be for that U.S. championship. Now it is for the global championship. I just saw that comment that talked about why don't they bring back the Intercontinental Championship? Well, funny you should mention that, because apparently that was on the table, according to the general manager there at New Japan. He said it had been discussed, bringing that championship back, but this whole idea of the global heavyweight championship in their mind puts them in a better position to increase their presence, not just in the UK and the US, but throughout Europe and Asia as well. So that's why they've gone with the global heavyweight championship as opposed to bringing back the Intercontinental Championship. But that thought actually was on the table, which I find to be very, very interesting. So a new championship, the Global Heavyweight Championship, which again speaks to potentially New Japan's desire to expand globally. We kind of saw the attempt in that back in 2017 with the creation of the United States Championship. And then with the New Japan Strong Division, which is what it is now, their presence here in the United States. It hasn't exactly gone the way that they thought it would. So it's interesting to see what happens. Boza says Finlay is obviously winning. I don't know that that's obvious. And the reason I don't know that that's obvious is because there continues to be a working relationship between AEW and New Japan and between TNA and New Japan. And considering that, again, 10 days after Wrestle Kingdom, the AEW signed Ospreay is going to be over in TNA. So there's so much mixture there. I think automatically thinking Finlay is going to win could be a very big mistake, because Moxley doesn't lose very much in New Japan, neither does Ospreay. So it'll be interesting to watch on January the 4th.
Do you think the crossover of the brands, the AEWs and the New Japan, more less of the impact, impact in probably New Japan with the two, is beneficial or hinders the brand in itself? I mean, obviously, I'm thinking with like AEW, that the fact that wrestlers can go and do indie shows and stuff like that's definitely beneficial to their pocket. And I don't know how much AEW's contracts are compared to a WWE contract where, you pretty much can't go anywhere. But let's just kind of take the money off the table. The wrestlers are getting paid what they need to get paid. Do you think it's beneficial to keep them in one promotion or for them to go to different promotions?
I feel like if you have a good following and you're in one singular promotion, you become more of an attraction. So these things that we want happen gradually over time. I feel like what we see where you're going on all these different places, and it's good for AEW superstars who maybe are not on actual television all the time. But I think with those partnerships, I think it only really benefits one brand. And what we've seen is it's benefiting the people who are already on AEW television. I think those other times we get some of the stars that are coming from New Japan or TNA who are trying to get more exposure. For me personally, I don't think it really helps get them that elevation that they're looking for. They might get some notoriety temporarily, but I don't think it helps elevate the viewership when they go back, if that makes sense.
It's interesting because I think it depends on the superstar and how they're presented, because obviously if, one of the things New Japan wants to do is get a real presence in the United States. And I don't feel like they've done that successfully. I think they thought that launching their own situation in the United States would do it. And I think they found that to be challenging, considering that their weekly show was streaming on New Japan Global. So if it's streaming there, that's not going to get you new fans because the US fans who are already committed are already there, They did an occasional thing with, Impact and things like that. But again, Impact isn't a brand that's seen in massive places, but B, if you're not properly cross-promoting and telling people where they can see these people in New Japan, then how will they watch? And then in terms of AEW, I don't know. Let me say this fairly. The challenge with the size of an AEW is I'm not sure that they have necessarily presented New Japan in the way that New Japan should be presented. And I just go back to their Forbidden Door pay-per-views. The Forbidden Door pay-per-views, usually the AEW star goes over. And that's not a good presentation in a partnership like that. So it's interesting. It's tricky, which to me is why this TNA situation in 2024 is so interesting, because you bring the largest star in Japan, Kazuchika Okada, over. That's a different ball game. And if they play that right, that can work for everybody involved, because wow, that actually means that Endeavor will be streaming Kazuchika Okada. I'll just leave that there. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And to Bobby's point,
you see the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
You see the chessboard taking
I see it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when you see, we talked about this in the chat, like how the announcement came, and the same thing with the whole CM Punk tea leaves we've been seeing from like certain superstars and different companies posting their old pictures and things with Punk, and then that happens, which we didn't expect. Mm-hmm. We've been seeing that the past week with WWE superstars posting their former matches with Okada, and reliving some old memories on the social medias, and I just from what we saw at Survivor Series, I have to believe there's more to meet the eye with that.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be interesting if we find out, because it's weird, a company that owns a stake in both spaces? Like, we've never seen a world where WWE was owned by anybody else besides Vince McMahon, but ever in the same playing field with another wrestling promotion, like not for real, and certainly not where you've got the parent company having the streaming platform for both of these brands. Like this is, I would, anything could happen in 2024.
Yeah, and the thing with that though is that, you know, I'm sure in the deal and the paperwork that was signed, like WWE has ownership of what's happening in WWE. But
sure,
it's kind of like, my parents didn't do this, but you see on television where your parents, like they have, the kids' room, like this is your room. If you don't want to clean up, you don't have to clean up. But everywhere else, this is how it's going. So I kind of feel like it's the same thing with Endeavor, where it's just like, oh, okay, y'all don't want to play nice with the others. Cool, that's your MO. However, you ain't stopping us from getting this money. It's not going to affect, because obviously you don't want to get money from somewhere else and then it affects the business you already have. So they probably did. Hopefully, they did. The profit and loss to acquiring something like this and doing these deals and how it would make sense. So
sure. I'm sure they have their Endeavor.
Blue's asking, are you implying that he is signed with Endeavor or not?
No, I'm not implying anything. All I'm saying is that the promotion that he's going to be at will be streamed by a company called Endeavor, which also happens to be owners of WWE and stream a thing called the WWE platform. Do with that what you will. That's all I'm saying.
No, implying. We don't know what's going on. We just talking right here. What we want to finish off of? Said you had something?
Yeah, because I know we talked about this on Friday really quickly. We got some update on Charlotte Flair's supposed injury when she actually hit the ground. Huh?
That looks That looks look bad.
But the hope is that she recovers quickly. It's not serious. If you saw the spot, it looked like she was just in a lot of pain from her knee. A lot of people speculated maybe a torn ACL or maybe something around the knee. And she even had to be helped backstage where she was seeing shouting at the referee, "My knee." So they're saying, I think they're keeping it pretty buttoned up, but there's no concrete injury on what it could be. But they're saying that it's not. She actually evaded a serious injury, so that's really good. So I think if she had a serious injury, then that would change the plans between Monday and April rather heavily. So they haven't really gave us too much of what it was, but at least she didn't get a tear or anything of that nature. Maybe it's a bad sprain, maybe something like grade 1, grade 2, where it's not really going to keep her out for a long period of time, but just rest.
Yeah. Our information officer, Bosa, saying the moonsault she nailed to Asuka landed wrong. Bobby asking our opinion. You guys, what are your thoughts on Maxine Dupree wrestling against Rhea Ripley tonight on Raw?
Maxine Dupree will be the Dom Mysterio of 2024.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. After all, Dominic Mysterio has wrestled the second most matches in all of WWE this year, second only to Cody Rhodes. Just imagine that. 2-time North American champion. He's done his thing. It's been amazing. Now, as for Rhea, there are two interesting stats out there. One of them I don't believe, the other I do. So I'm gonna approach this very carefully. So apparently Rhea Ripley is, what are they saying? They're saying she's at 250 days.
That's what I saw. 250 days as champ.
I guess that's right. She won it at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. The numbers don't.
But those other numbers don't make sense. So I'm not sure that I'm going to talk about that. Because somebody said she had like 32 title defenses in that 250 days. And there's absolutely no way she's defended the championship 32 times. I love Rhea, but there's no way. I'd love for somebody to tell me the 32 matches that she's had for her women's championship.
All right, Bosta, you got 5 minutes. Bring
just on screen, or maybe house shows.
That's now we can't. I mean, house shows. Do we? I'm not saying they don't count, but
do we count them?
Do we count them? I mean, if a tree falls in a forest,
the stat says 250 days across TV, live events, and PLEs. She's defended the title 32 times. So that would
So
include
it's got to be
house
mostly
shows.
live events. It's got to be mostly house shows, which that's just so tricky because WWE doesn't usually report on house shows, and you need a number of people actually there to say it, which well, either way, I'm still proud of what Rhea Ripley has done this year, and I think it should be a very interesting match tonight with Maxine Dupree.
Big spotlight for her.
Big spotlight for her. Big spotlight. We're gonna see what she can do. I don't know how prepared she is, but I'm sure that at Alpha Academy they have put in some work to make sure she's good. So
before we get out of here, definitely something to check out on Fight TV, one of our partners. We have an interview with Janai Kai coming up tomorrow. Really, really interesting stuff. She talks about Chelsea Green, advice from Chelsea Green, advice from Santana Garrett, which is crazy. The stuff that Santana did or helped Janai with, and kind of, when you're in a certain position, you don't have to do certain things, and the things that she did and helped her with was pretty amazing stuff, and great advice from Maria Kanellis. So definitely check out that interview. Is dropping tomorrow at noon Pacific time on Fight TV. So definitely check that out. Anything else you want to say congratulations to Athena?
Yes. Athena, 1 year as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. And, if we're going to throw out MVP awards for a year, she's got to be the MVP of Ring of Honor without question. She has been the bright spot of that promotion, what she has done, how she has elevated the women's division. And the word is out that both her match with Billie Starkz this Friday night on Final Battle will main event that pay-per-view, marking the first women's main event in Final Battle history, only the second women's main event for a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So congratulations to Athena, number 1 on the Reina list, obviously. And it'll be interesting to see how this whole deal goes. But without question, her story right now with Billie Starkz, the most entertaining thing. They had a crazy brawl Thursday night, which if you guys go back and check it out, it was amazing. And so it's even incredible to see how, for whatever people think about Ring of Honor, they are still producing something that's got the wrestling world talking, which is Athena and this world title run. So congratulations to her, 1 year as the champion.
And also happy birthday to Sunny Kiss. Turning 30th day. But my question with Ring of Honor, you guys let me know in the chat, because we were talking about, all the promotions and stuff like that. And I think somebody might have mentioned it on X as well. With Ring of Honor, and Tony, the fake TK, did try to, get us to purchase Ring of Honor with bringing Ronda Rousey on for that time that they were in LA. With the Ring of Honor of it all, are you guys paying the $9.99? And I guess the question is, if it were cheaper or if it was packaged with like an AEW, would you be more apt to watch it? I guess how many people are watching it? How many people are paying the $9.99 for it? Or are you just seeing what's happening after the fact on social media?
Said?
Well, we know said.
I'm like LeBron James. I can't pay the $5. My Spotify got ads.
Your Spotify has ads for real?
I'm an Apple Music user, but you get the gist.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm like, ads in music. I'm like, Jesus, that's torture. My supposed to not listen to music at all. But anyways, what are your thoughts, since we already know Sed's answer, I think?
Well, so it's interesting. I am a subscriber to Ring of Honor. And but what's interesting is I found myself only really watching the weekly program. I've just not dug into their library as of yet, which I probably should. I think what they've done by putting Final Battle now available to Ring of Honor subscribers, that may boost that particular number in terms of getting more people subscribed, because again, you were subscribed to that and then still had to pay separately for the pay-per-view. I think the challenge that Ring of Honor has right now is, you know, those first couple of new shows for TV were absolutely incredible. And that was because there was a dedicated place to it in terms of where they were taping. The storylines were focused. We had somewhere where we were going. It didn't, you know, and you had a crowd that looked like they were totally into it. These days, you know, it's being taped on the back end of Collision, and you know, you may or may not have a crowd. There may or may not be empty seats. There's not necessarily continuity. Honestly, this Athena Billy Starks thing is probably the thing with the most level of continuity connected to it. I mean, I think we're still kind of in flux about the idea that the Ring of Honor world title is currently hosed up in some other tournament right now. That being the Continental Classic for AEW. So the Ring of Honor world champion is not even going to be on this Final Battle pay-per-view. So there's a lot to be said for that. And so I think what Ring of Honor is going to have to do to make people more interested in their streaming service is bring the kind of programming that people want to see. You know, even if this is going to be somewhat developmental, which I don't know if it's fair to call it that, put the time and effort into it, you know, to make people interested in putting it behind a paywall. Because again, what doesn't make sense is the AEW product on a weekly basis is not behind a paywall. And you could make the argument that what you're seeing story-wise, et cetera, is a bit more continuous and a lot more continuity than what you're seeing with Ring of Honor. So it's interesting. And Boza, I'll tell you this, I don't know what to think, and I want to say this carefully. When in Ring of Honor, you only really have one champion that is regularly showing up on Ring of Honor programming, and that's Athena. You know, your world championship is locked up in the Continental Classic. The TV title was given up. Your current 2/3 of the 6-man champions are over in Japan wrestling in the World Tag League. And your pure champion is an AEW talent, Willer Yuta, who really hasn't been on Ring of Honor television. So you only have one champion of all of your champions that are and your tag team champions. One of them is out injured. The other is the world champion of the partner division, and neither of them have been on AEW or on Ring of Honor television. So it's not a good case for Ring of Honor right now. It really isn't. So they got to fix that.
Yeah, I'd almost rather it be, I mean, cost of overhead. I mean, before, I'd almost rather be how NXT does their things on even a smaller scale, where they have a dedicated place. You know, before it was in Chicago, I believe, but you know, wherever, a dedicated place, I guess Florida, because there's a lot of
they were in Orlando taping. They being Ring of Honor.
Yeah, so have a dedicated place where it's like every week or once a month, you can see almost kind of a hybrid of the NXT and Impact, where they do their tapings once a month, and you could see them at this dedicated place, you know, and you could see the matches and all the things. But yeah, it doesn't. And then with the paywall of it all, like, yeah, I do, but I do because I write it off. If I didn't have the business and tax person acumen to do that, probably not. So that's the sad thing. It's kind of like one of those things where you have this, but do you lower the cost? Like, because the thing is, okay, so you're paying for that, right? But there's no place that you're having, especially if you're filming on the back end of AEW. So you've already lowered the cost that way, right? Because your talent's kind of already there. You're not getting a whole separate venue. So you've just lowered the cost that way. You have a whole library that people can kind of tap into. So then the product in itself, the $9.99 doesn't seem appeasing, because it's you already know it's not a dedicated thing. It's kind of like an afterthought. So opposed to you're paying $9.99 for Peacock, and you're getting all that, you're getting all the other stuff. And you know, it's just I don't know. I'd be curious, and I'm sure the numbers are out there, but I'd be curious as far as what the buy rate is for that. And it doesn't, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you tack in, I don't know too many people who just watch ROH.
Right.
So when you talk in everything else, and then either you have cable or you supposedly cut the cable, but you're really paying cable for Hulu, it's still something. So yeah, and Special Little Nobody's saying they have been putting on good matches, but the tree falls in the ROH forest. Does anybody hear it? So they need a new strategy. So yeah.
I've got an interesting stat for you. You ready for this? Now, this was as of March or end of March, top of April this year. As of that point, there were about 15,000 subscribers for Honor Club.
Oh.
That was as of March 2023. And that was after, the rebrand of Ring of Honor started doing weekly TV again, because that started on March the 2nd. So I'm 15,000 at $10 a pop is $150,000.
That's like maybe, well, I don't know what wrestlers get paid, but
$150,000 is, and considering that Ring of Honor isn't doing house shows, they're not doing the things like
well, I agree with Special Little Nobodies. They need a new strategy, but who are we? Just I'm just Canadian trying to make it in America. With that being said, I definitely want to send a congratulations out to if you guys haven't watched our post show, our WoW post show, Abilene Maverick just became champion over at WoW. That main event, you can watch it. You don't have to pay extra. You can go and watch it on Hulu. Make sure you record it first, but and then they also offer it on YouTube. I think in about a week. That main event was something special. Just if you're not really a fan of WoW, just fast forward to that main event. That was crazy. So, and if you don't want to watch WoW, check out our post show. We go into it. So shout out to Christina. But with that being said, I think it's time. Seti looks like he's itching. He needs to get back into the streets. So I think it's time for us to bid adieu. So Sed, where can everybody find you?
I got an addiction now. That's crazy.
Look, I mean, if she does the work, I guess she does the work.
Off, happy birthday, goats! Happy birthday to the goats!
Yes, happy birthday, Rey Mysterio.
You can find me on these Twitter streets at says at CEWD_SAYS. I'm a little nasally because I'm kind of sick right now, but like I said, TK cracks the whip. You can also find me on the gram at Said is the Answer. That's CEDIS the Answer. And also here, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, a couple articles you can check out on www.talkpod.com that I've written in regards to the Reina rankings. There'll be another update here, I believe, in the next following month. Hopefully Lola Vice gets there. Like I said, I don't control that stuff. All I do is submit my bid, and the people say yay or nay. So if you want to see Lola Vice on the Reina rankings, start adding the WWT account on Twitter every single day and let them know the mayor of Vice City sent you. Also, you can check out my writing on dailyddt.com. I wrote some stuff about Survivor Series. There'll be more articles coming up the next week. Check that out. We like cake over here.
Teflon G, where can everybody find you?
You guys can check me out at Bonnerfied across all of the social platforms. You can check out my commentary work with IWE and Southern Honor Wrestling on IWTV. We just had a big show this past Friday where, interestingly enough, sitting in on commentary with us was the NWA Women's World Champion, Kenzie Page. Kind of crazy how these things happen. So that went down. Also, you can check out my commentary work with All Caribbean Wrestling on their YouTube page. You can also check out my work with Ashe at AsheWrestling.com. And this Friday, I'll be doing a brand new episode with the Nightmare Factory for their next Student Showcase number 12. But you can check out Student Showcase 11 right now on their YouTube page for the Nightmare Factory. Then, of course, you can check out my podcast at The Faction and then all the other places I am, including right here, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Type of cake you like special? Type of cake you like? Cheesecake? Red velvet? German chocolate?
Red Velvet is actually very cool. I had a chance to talk with her a while back. She's very, very cool.
Oh, she's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Make sure you follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Definitely check out Women's Wrestling Talk. Like I said, we have coming up on Fight TV. We had the interview with Janai Kai. We have another special interview ending and beginning the year off on Fight TV. So that's some good things to look forward to. But every week on Tuesday on Fight TV, check out those interviews. www.talkpod.com, www.talkpod on all social media platforms. Woo! Man, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Till next time, ciao.
What's up? I'm Mean Gia Miller. You can catch me on social media at Mean Gia Miller, no spaces included, or every Thursday night on Impact Wrestling. But if you really want to get the scoop, you got to check out Women's Wrestling Talk.